Welcome to the Richard Lloyd USA YouTube channel. I'm Richard Lloyd. Today I'm going to do a follow-up video on installing DD-WRT on my new favorite little router, the MR7350. Love this thing, it's working great. And in that video I showed you how to install DD-WRT on that router and configure it as a basic home router. And if you didn't see that video, just click up there. That'll show you the video that you need to watch prior to doing any of the configuration on this video. Basically, if you don't, then what you're doing here will not work. Here's what we had in that video and what I promised. In that video, I set up this. The router on 192.168.1.1, standard, connected to the internet, 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Wide open. What I mean by that is everything on that that connects to those two Wi-Fi connections will be able to see each other and actually see the router as well as see the internet. I recommend against putting anything in that kind of a state, but it's there because that's your default router out of the box would have that as well. Now, the other thing I created was two guest networks. 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz guest Wi-Fi networks isolated. And these networks or Wi-Fi connections were made to put IoT devices on, and those were isolated from each other. So whatever connected to those two networks could see the internet, but couldn't see anything else on the network. Like the camera couldn't see the phone and the laptop couldn't see the thermostat. They're all isolated. They all think they're by themselves on a network. And they could also see the internet, but the other thing that they could also see is the router. Now, let's say the camera becomes compromised. Yeah, I can't see any of these devices, but it can still see the router. And that's the most crucial part of your network. If somebody can hack one of your IoT devices and then compromise your router, then they got full control of your whole network, and it doesn't matter about this anymore because they'll just shut it off, and now they have access to everything. Right? So you want to protect the router as much as possible. And the way we're going to do that today is by basically doing what I show in the next picture. We're going to create a network, 192.168.60, and then all those devices will get an IP address the IoT devices will get an IP address of 192.168.60. something, like 150 or something like that. And they will all be isolated still in their little jail, but they will not see the router at all. We're going to bypass the router at all and just completely, and then they're just going to connect from here straight out to the internet. No access to your internal network at all. And that is the safest way to have IoT. And IoT devices are the most insecure things you can plug in your network, so you want to handle them this way for sure. All right, and future videos, I'll be showing you how to isolate everything from the router where it's on its own network by itself, nothing else, and everything else on your network is on separate, secure, individual networks that are not, well, they can't compromise the router, but function exactly like they would if they were connected to the router directly. So, really cool. So stay tuned for that in the future. So let's go do this. I'm going to open up a private window here. I always use Firefox. It seems to work the best for this. And private because it doesn't remember anything from the last session, which is excellent when you're dealing with routers. And I'm going to go log into it, 192.168.1.1. Don't know why it's giving me this, but I'm just going to go advanced. Oh yeah, I know why. I'll show you why in a minute. Admin, and whatever your password is, log in. Now, the reason the browser did that is because over here on administration, I chose HTTPS here, right? And what that does is it forces a secure connection to the router. Unfortunately, DD-WRT is not using a paid key or SSH key, so you can't, it gives you a warning about it, but it doesn't matter. Here we go, we're in, no problem at all. You don't have to use HTTPS, you can just use HTTP. Generally, it's secure, but I just don't like clear text passwords on my network, and that avoids that. So, little tip for you there. I would check that off and uncheck the HTTP. You'll get the blurb from the browser, but you know, another cool thing about that is if somebody does compromise your router and resets it, whatever, most of them are not, this is not a default setting, and most of them aren't going to think about putting that back. So when you go log in and the browser doesn't warn you, then you go, well, why didn't it warn me? Well, usually that's because they've changed that. Little tip there. Let's move on. We've got the wireless, and we have GWi-Fi 50 here, as you can see, and GWi-Fi 24. That's those two networks that we see here in my previous photo there, and insecure currently. But what we're going to do is create a couple of networks that will make the, well, actually one network, and move all of those two Wi-Fi connections over to that network. So it's pretty cool that you can do that. Here we're going to go to setup, go to networking, and this is a default networking web page for DD-WRT. Really cool how it works. A little quirky, but just follow my steps and we'll get through it. So first thing we need to do is create a bridge. And as you can see here, there's already one bridge here, BR0. Now BR0 is the router. And you know, eventually you don't want anything on that. But right now, everything's on that. So BR0 is the default bridge. That's what BR stands for. We need to build a new one. And we're going to do that right now. Here we're going to hit plus. And we're going to type in here BR6 and turn off SDP. There we go. Here we're going to save and apply. All right. And now the router is going to reboot for a sec. So I'll wait for that. And you're probably wondering, why did you choose BR6? Well, I chose BR6 because I know what videos I'm going to make in the future. And if you set it up this way and follow along in my next, in part 3 of this series, then you'll see why I did that. But right now we're just keeping it there. Follow that. It'll be simpler for the next video where I'm going to basically separate the network from the router and create separate networks that will allow you to function just like you would normally without the router being involved in any of the devices actually connecting to the router, but still giving you access to the router itself. So you'll see what I mean when I get to those videos. Right now, the router is rebooted. So we've done that. Now we're going to go here to assign the bridge. So hit plus. There we go. Then hit plus again. So we're going to be putting two Wi-Fi connections, the 2.4 gig and 5 gigahertz in here. So just hit save and apply here. It's really quirky on how this works. So now we're going to hit on the please select here and choose BR6. Same down here, BR6. Let's see if it sticks. And next we're going to choose WLAN 01 and WLAN 11. Now, those are the two wireless guest networks. And how do I know that? Well, I'm just going to hit save here and I'll show you how I know and how you can know. All right. Go back to wireless. And here you'll see that it's labeled. Okay, so the wireless connection here for DD-WRT 2.4G is WLAN 1. But the G Wi-Fi, the guest Wi-Fi, is what? WLAN 1.1. And up here, the G Wi-Fi 50, right, which is the guest network, is WLAN 0.1. And that's how you know what LAN network they are. They're labeled up here. So back to setup, back to networking. Let's see if it took. Okay, yeah, we have BR1 and BR6 with WLAN 01 and 11. And you can see down here, current bridge table, that BR6 has been assigned those two interfaces. So we're moving forward here, right? Excellent. So now what we need to do is scroll down here and you'll see BR6 here, this network configuration. So what we're going to type in here is we're going to give it a label that makes sense. And that's G Wi-Fi. That's the network. I'm just going to call this the G Wi-Fi network for guest Wi-Fi. And we're going to give it a number, 192. 192.168.60.1. That's the bridge IP address, and 24 means that it'll have 254 IP addresses that are available there. So just follow that exactly, 192.168.60.1 and 24. Now, we don't want these Wi-Fi connections seeing the router. And the way you stop that from happening is you click this radio button right here, Net Isolation. Once you do that, all those devices will still be able to connect to the internet, but they will not see the router anymore. It'll be completely out of their view, and they'll be on their own network, 192.168.60.1. So back down to the bottom, hit save and apply. There we go. So again, it's going to do a little reboot, but our settings are taken. You don't need to set anything else in here. Just leave that alone. And then down here, where it says multiple DHCP servers, every network that you create needs a DHCP server to hand out IP addresses, okay? So we're going to add one right here. Click on Add. And every time you do that, it scrolls up. I don't know why. We're going to choose an interface, and this time it's going to be BR6, so G Wi-Fi, right? That's where the network is. Save and apply. And now, as you can see here, that is okay. That's exactly where it should be, BR6. Those two, yeah, it's rebooting, so it'll come back. And scroll down to the bottom, and now you see that 192.168.60.1/24 BR6 G Wi-Fi on is that now has a DHCP server. Okay, so now at this point, when we connect to G Wi-Fi, we should be able to see. We should be on that network, the 60 network, and we shouldn't be able to see the router. We shouldn't be able to see anything on that network at all except the actual device you're on. So save and apply one more time just for kicks. Minimize that. I'm going to make sure I disconnect from Ethernet. And yeah, I forgot to mention you need to connect to the router through Ethernet to do this. And always when you're configuring the router, do it through Ethernet. So disable my Ethernet connection. Let's connect to Wi-Fi. Looks like it's trying to do it anyway. Okay, so there we are, G Wi-Fi 50. It says connected. There we are. Let's see what the speed and IP address is. Well, we're connected at Wi-Fi 6, 802.11ax, perfect. WPA3, perfect. We're connected at 649 and 249 megabits per second. Again, it'll speed up as we go along. And basically, we've got 192.168.60.144. So we're on a 60 network. The default gateway is 60.1. Perfect, exactly what it should be. So let's go into a DOS window. And the way you do that is just go to the search and type in CMD. I like to run it as administrator. Click on yes. There we are. Now, if I do an IP config here, so just type it in, IP config, enter. That tells you everything about it. Basically, it tells you your IP address and your default gateway. Well, we can ping ourselves. We should be able to anyway. 192.168. Oops. .60.144. Yeah, and that makes sense. Now, can we ping the gateway, which is the virtual router that we have now? No. Right? Which is perfect. That's the way it should be. Can we ping 192.168.1.1? No. Which is exactly how that should be. And yeah, another caveat here. When you're connected to these G Wi-Fi, what do you call it? G Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi connections, SSIDs, you will not be able to see the router. It's like you can't log into it. You can't do anything, right? So if I tried to right now open the router again, right here. Let's do it here. Let's just go see if we can get there. It won't get there because we're isolated from it. We're on our own network. This network knows nothing about that router, which is the beautiful thing about this setup. And like I said, in the future, in probably my next video, I will show you how to basically program this router to create a network that is completely free of itself, but completely just as functional as it would be if you were connected directly to it, and way more secure because you can't see the router from it, but you can do everything else you could normally on it. And I think it's going to be really cool for people to see that you can do that. And that's the beauty of this third-party firmware. It gives you so much flexibility, and not you can create more than one network. Like on if you wanted to create 5 networks that were Wi-Fi networks that were not able to see each other, you could do that here. Just like I showed you, just replicate what I showed you with different virtual Wi-Fi connections, and off you go, right? So again, stay tuned for that. So you can see, can't get to the router at all. Can't get to the router page. So that's perfect. If I connect with my phone, let's see if I can ping it. Okay, it's connected. And its IP address is 145. So 60 to 145. 145. There we go. And of course, you can't ping it. So that's the way to make that previous video I made that I linked at the top, and we'll be linking at the end of this video as well. How to make that network, its IoT devices, completely not this, right? This is semi-secure. What I just showed you makes it completely secure. And I would suggest that anything that doesn't need access to your router should go into the guest IoT Wi-Fi. It's just, that's it. There's no reason for it to be on the 192.168.1.1 network. Now, again, I'm going to show you how to make this even more secure in the future, and how to make the router disappear from the entire network, which makes it ultimately secure. Because like I said, anything that connects to this network currently, even with what I just did, there's still this network there. It can compromise the router. And what you don't want is the router being compromised by anything. If the router's secure, everything else is super hard to hack, right? And even if any of these devices got hacked, all they would have access to is the internet. That's it. Now, that's still not good. You don't want to be hacked in any way, but they wouldn't be able to access your stuff right now the way I just showed you to set it up. Okay, that's it for my video. If you like this video and it helped you out in some way, do me a huge favor. Give me a like at the bottom of the video. Also, comment section at under the video. Anything you want to say to me, any questions, anything you want to relay to me, video suggestions and constructive criticism. I love that too. Had some of that recently. And yeah, awesome. I really appreciate your feedback. In the video description, I'll put chapters, YouTube chapters for this video, which will make it much easier to navigate. There'll be affiliate links down there for things like USB Ethernet adapters like this. If you need an Ethernet adapter for your laptop or your PC or anything like that, those are like $10. Please do use those links to go buy those items, as they help my channel and help me to bring you more content like this. And it doesn't cost you any more than going directly to Amazon and buying the item. As well, then you also get what I recommend, which I know is good for those suppliers. Again, and just like always, thank you for watching. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. Stay healthy. Stay happy. Stay safe. And we'll see you in the next video.